Yep. All right. Welcome back to the We Not I podcast. Today, our guest is Dr. Robb Kelly, world-renowned addiction and alcoholism expert. So happy to have you, Rob. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, man. It's great to be here. Thank you so much. It's going to be an awesome one, guys. Ooh, be careful.
All right. Yeah. So again, I figured I'd kind of dive a little bit into the context of the podcast and my journey with alcoholism, addiction, and pretty much in 2011, I smoked some synthetic marijuana, which led to a drug-induced psychosis and in and out of mental health hospitals, and a lot of counseling and kind of 5, 6 years of really grinding my way through college, different medications and psychiatrists. So fortunately, now I'm 5 years sober and have used my story to talk to other people and kind of come up with this podcast, which is really like what works for me in my mental health and sobriety. And then I bring on other guests that share tips and tricks for what works for them, and it's a platform to share everybody's story. So I'm yeah, excited to have you, and also I talked beforehand about how I just got back from a bachelor party in Austin, Texas, where three other guys or two other guys, three out of us 15 were sober, and a couple of them were newly sober. So it's a timely conversation, and excited to hear you and your story, as well as some tips and tricks and pretty much everything for my audience who might be contemplating sobriety or is in early stages. Thanks again for sharing.
Of course, absolutely.
So what is kind of your history, or I mean, we can start with what you're doing now, and then get into a little bit of your story first, if that's all right with you. Oh, you're sorry, you're muted there.
Hey, guys, my name's Dr. Robb Kelly. I have two PhDs, one in behavioral science and one in psychology, addiction psychology. I've been in the industry for about 30 years and probably seen over 8,000 people, clients, patients during that time. I'm very, how would people describe me? Very loudmouthed and very vocal on certain stuff. And ask me if I care. No, I don't care, because I think we have an epidemic on our hands. So many years ago, I was suffered terribly from alcoholism, and I like drugs as well. That I lost all family, I lost kids, I lost houses, cars, businesses, licenses, everything like that, and I was homeless for about 14 months. So I'm really aggressively involved in real recovery, not the 30-day treatment and again 30-day treatment, and then you go back for the third time. It's not what you think it is, alcoholism. And we study neuroscience here, neuroplasticity, behavioral science. We also study childhood trauma, which is the gateway drug. So we're kind of the neuroscience guys around the addiction. Nobody else is doing what we do to the extent, and nobody's done trials and tests to the extent that we've done. And if, for instance, if I tell people now at home that alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism and the same with drugs, you might think I'm crazy, but it's the symptom, it's not the problem. The root cause of alcoholism is alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. So alcohols are born, it's a generational thing, trace it back through your family. Drug addicts have the addictive personality, which presents exactly the same. So yeah, we love what we do because we do what we love.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I did see how quick overview on your website showed that instead of most addiction treatment centers or rehabs where people are inpatient and then they struggle a lot when they get out, it's almost the hardest part is when they have to go back to their day-to-day living. I saw that your group operates in a telehealth world where they kind of meet people where they with incorporating your treatment within their day-to-day life. So I really liked that angle on it as well.
Yeah, I think that, well, for us, it's repetition, strength, and confirms. Alcoholics are born with three parts of the brain that differ from the normal person. That's the hypothalamus, the amygdala, and the basal ganglia. So if we don't do this on a daily basis, we only do telehealth, then in our opinion, you're not going to get well. You might stop for a day, a year, a month, whatever. But if you don't sort the trauma out, you will relapse again. So Of course, we've been doing telehealth for about 8 years now, way before COVID came. Because what we found is coming in sterile offices, sitting down and talking through some stuff. It probably take about a year. Well, we can do that within a month because they're sat in their pajamas with a nice t-shirt on. You're in the house and nice and relaxed. The coffee, got the cat next to him. It's like we can get. So we kind of rewire brains. So the alcohol and drug addiction is taken away. Compulsive drug is taken away. But then what we're left with, well, we're left with me. So we build you up and make you successful to throw you back in the world for success and happiness.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you talked about rewiring and neuroplasticity. I know for myself, as I'm 30 years old now and got sober at 25. I guess my question what's the science or how I feel like my brain was definitely one way, and especially becoming completely sober and now off of all the psychotropic medications as well. My brain has changed and feels smarter and
Yeah,
faster and
yeah,
refired. Um, I think it at least seems popular belief that that hasn't always been the case. Or what's the science, I guess, behind what's happened to my brain in the past 5 years and how
yeah,
how it's
yeah.
different than what it was.
So for those guys that go to AA or NA, there's a great book out there. They call it the Big Book, and the stuff in there is way before its time. So they talk about a psychic change in there, which is basically a change of mind, psychic mind change. So change of mind. Well, change of mind is changing neural pathways. So uh, medical industry about 10 years ago decided there was this thing called neuroplasticity, but it's been around since the early days when these guys wrote the book. So it's always been there as far as back as we can trace. Carl Jung was onto something good, and a bunch of other psychologists and psychiatrists. But the bottom line is when you come into recovery, the real time for the real time, doing the right thing, making sure that the people you're listening to know what they're talking about. This is what happens. So the basal ganglia, for instance, is repetition, strength, and confirms. If you can imagine a clock face at the top, we're drinking, and then about 10 past, we stop drinking, get the wife back, we're full of guilt. Oh my God, never do it again. 20 after, we got the car back at 30 minutes past the hour, everything's going great. And then 20 to the hour, we get a promotion, and then bang, at 10 to the hour, we self sabotage. That's mainly due to childhood trauma and then the gene of alcoholics and the addictive personality. We're never good enough. We'll never be blonde enough, rich enough, thin enough, or tall enough. And that's what we have to really digest in ourselves. So that needs to change. It's a change of mind. Self-sabotaging neural pathways need to change. Now, here's the interesting. The hypothalamus, which is also part of our survival instinct, tells us to eat food, drink water from birth. At a certain point of our drinking career, it turns around and tells alcoholics to drink alcohol, nothing else. That's why we can go days or weeks without touching food or water because the brain's telling us to drink alcohol. And that's what's happening to many of us out there, including you.
Yeah, that's it's definitely interesting to think about how yeah, especially the self-sabotage. I know I can relate to that aspect of you know doing something, or especially when I was in school and I would continue to smoke weed or do these things and be like, why do these things keep happening to me? And it wasn't until I healed that with myself and
Mm.
regained my own confidence and self-esteem, that I started to fully realize that I was ready for sobriety. And I guess like I you hear things where people can go to detox or go to rehabs, or a family can force someone into these things. And I mean, it's my belief that people don't heal until they're ready to themselves. What's your thought on that stage of change?
100%. Yeah, you have to pass. You have to pass an assessment to our program. We can't throw money at us. We're not interested. You have to earn it. So first of all, the assessment is ready. We want to see if the client or the patient is ready to come into treatment, is ready for this 90-day telehealth program. And we turn down more people than we take on currently. Because we just won't do it. You're never going to get anybody clean sober. You're never going to sort the trauma out and go on to do great things if they're not ready to do it. So the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's the same here. If you're going to relapse and just come in here for the fun of it to appease mum and dad, we're not your guys. Go away to a treatment center, mess around there for 30 days, come out and relapse or do what you do. We're not interested. We're interested in guaranteeing the person and guaranteeing the parents, the wife, the husband, that we can take that patient to a different level. And if we can't, we won't. We're the only company in the world that offers a money back guarantee if you relapse. The only company. As long
Wow.
as you continue our program, you won't relapse. And that guarantee's been there for about 10 years now. Nobody's ever come back to us for refunds. It's not about the alcohol. That's what a lot of people don't understand. It's not about the alcohol. It's not about the drugs. It's about how you were born. Was you born alcoholic, addicted personality when we first took that drug? Like about 89, 90% or something of heroin addicts that come to my practice started in the doctor's office. So that tells us something straight away. Beer's available everywhere, alcohol drink. So there's a good chance if you are born alcoholic, you're going to take that drink. Whereas guys who are born into a non-alcoholic family, but they're brilliant, they're the guys who own Google and Amazon, them guys. And there's no reason from my experience in the years I've been doing this that once the alcohol and drugs have been taken away, the compulsion to drink or use, and the childhood trauma and the behavior and the toxic friends and the toxic family and, hanging around these people. If I hang around 9 depressed people, I'm going to become the 10th kind of thing. That is the problem. It's not what we think it is. If I could just stop drinking. Well, if you're an alcoholic, that doesn't make no difference. It's nothing to do with the drink. Now, if you like a drink weekend, guys, carry on. It's beautiful. If I could do that, I probably would. But I can't because I can't stop. So the question I ask new people coming in is when you take the first drink or drug, can you stop? Can you go home and not go back for a few months? And with me, it's no, of course I can't. I mean, as soon as alcohol enters my body, it's the mental obsession. Again, the hypothalamus is telling me to drink. So the mental obsession, I'll get away with it this time. It won't be as bad. It wasn't that bad. I stabbed my wife 3 times one night. But 2 years later, it wasn't that bad. That's what mind will tell me. So we have to really retrain all them parts of the brain that will take you on a different path. But it never was about the alcohol and it never will be about the alcohol and drugs. So once we understood that, we understood neuroplasticity, where we can remold brains. And listen, when we started this many, 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 many years ago, people laughed at us. And then people tried to discredit us.
Wow.
And now people are listening because we have a 97% success rate. All the figures are there to show. We have after the 90 days, you get another 90 days where you go down to 2 days instead of 7 days a week. And then you go on to 5 years of once a month. So we can track our records and you can keep in contact. And the once a month that happens is free of charge for the rest of your life. So most people will do it because it's free. And that's how we track,
Wow.
We're very, very aggressive about this.
Yeah, and that's also incredible that you offer it free of charge for the rest of your life. I mean, that's an interesting model. And, I respect it to be able to keep people accountable. You mentioned, it's not about the alcohol or the drug, it's about the circle of exterior things. And I read a little bit into your story about an instance where, um, excuse me if I'm abbreviating, but you went through the process of going to get alcohol from a liquor store, and once you got it in your hand, you realized, it's not about the alcohol. It was like that process leading up to it, and I definitely relate to that, or the experience of getting marijuana or alcohol, and like the process of preparing, doing these things leading up to it.
That was a turning moment for me. And we've done drug addiction as well, where, we've asked people, do you want help? No, I don't want help. I've been clean a week, but I know I'm going to use. And we tried to track them and said, can you call us before you go? And we monitored them and we looked at what they were doing on the way there, behavioral kind of thing. And we found out that the most intoxicating part about all that stuff they went through, the thought pattern, the drive there and the taking was the drive there, the anticipation. That's when the brain starts lighting up. But yeah, I was outside at a liquor store early in the morning, shaking, going into DTs. I was in a mess. I'm in a pair of shorts and a vest, and it's like freezing, the snow on the ground, and I'm sweating like crazy, banging headache. When he put the bottle and I grabbed the handle of the bottle, it all went. My instant great mood, headache gone, stopped shivering, sweating. Now I'm all full of joy. Never even opened the bottle. I didn't open it till I got home, but boy, was I happy. And that's when I realized, damn, it's not about the alcohol. It's about
Well,
me. You know, it's about me. So shielding someone away from alcohol, if you're an alcoholic, always doomed. Never going to work. Never, ever going to work. But the guys that abuse alcohol, they can do it. They can stop, moderate, do what they need to do. Wifey goes, I'm going to leave you, don't stop drinking. Them guys can stop. Alcoholics and addicts cannot stop because of the hypothalamus that's telling me to drink. And the trauma, the amygdala's like a smoke alarm for the whole brain. The trauma, that's what kills us. Because we do this here and it's correlates to this, but we can't even put that together. So the easiest way to explain to people, it's like the girls that come and they go, why do I keep attracting the same guy that ends up being an alcoholic and ends up in violence? And we go, okay, who's your caregivers? And we go, oh my God, it's monkey see, monkey do. It's learned behavior from childhood. So what happens is the girl will attract that kind of guy. And if she stumbles upon a great guy that looks after her and really protects her, she'll self-sabotage that because it doesn't feel as if they deserve it. So there was something in Manchester, England back in the late 70s that I want to share. A girl got snatched off the side of the road, 16 years old. There was a huge manhunt and they couldn't find her. 9 months later, there was a police car following another car down the country roads and it had a broken back light. So he pulled them over. They always asked back in the day, what's in the trunk? And if you go, like, if it's yours, you'll know what's in the trunk because there's no electronics to find out. And he asked the guys in the trunk and he said, nothing. Open the trunk and there was a stolen screwdriver and he admitted to being stolen. So now they go back to the house to check everything else. Of course, the lawnmowers, drills, everything that is stolen over the years. But they noticed a box in the corner, 4 foot high by 12 foot wide. And they said, what's in the box? It's nothing. I don't know anything about the box. It's not mine. So they smashed the lock off and opened the top box. And there was the girl that went missing 9 months before. He used to take her out, beat her, abuse her, bathroom, stuff like that, put her back in for 9 months. When they opened the box, she was there, battered and bruised, but she was alive. The police officer leant over and tried to pull her out the box. When she did, the police officer took her coat off and wrapped it around the girl. What do you think the first thing is she did? She got back in the box. There's the trauma. We will go back to painful memories and painful situations and dangerous situations because it's become the norm. In a violent house, that becomes the norm. And anything away from that, we don't feel comfortable. So we go running back to that box, running back to that violence, running back to that dysfunctional family. And once you realize that and can correct that and do the work around that trauma, your life's always going to be in a mess.
well, it's yeah. So your work is figuring out the trauma, what's in the box, kind of diving into somebody's history and kind of leaning into um, learning about why they're drinking or using and these exterior features. What are some of the kind of questions that you ask, whether it's, you mentioned toxic relationships or families or other hobbies or people you're hanging around with? What are these external factors that you believe contribute?
Well, again, the environment that we're brought into, of course, can change the learning behavior and measurement from families, and mothers can pass depression down to daughters and stuff like that. So we tend to think what happens in our house as we're growing up because we're taught everything by our caregivers is the norm, okay, and that's what we believe. So when we go out and anything acts different, then it's not the norm, So we got to look at the family systems. We will not take a patient on, if, say, for instance, it's the man who's married, got a couple of young children, the wife has to come on board for 2 days a week. We cannot forget the family systems. So I always explain this. It's like two houses. So here's us and here's the house he lives. So we come along and this house, for instance, speaks Spanish and we pick our guy out and we take him to our program. Now recovery has its own language. So let's say we teach him the new language. Let's call it English for 90 days, and then we pick him up and we put him back in a house that speaks Spanish. What is he going to do? He's going to start to speak Spanish again. Old behavior causes old problems. And when you're acting out old behavior, how can it be old? It becomes current behavior. So unless both houses are taught the same language, then it's going to be dysfunctional and it's never going to work. That's why people relapse. They go back to the same old, same old. They go back to the toxic people. So what we do, we take them to a higher frequency and we guarantee that they'll have an amazing life, successful and clean and sober, childhood trauma. I mean, 4 of my 18 patients right now, not even alcohol and drugs, they just want to better their lives, change the trauma. So that's huge, of course. And then the first time you take that drink, normal people don't take drinks and go, wow. Normal people at the age of 9 and 10 spit it out and go, God, that's horrible. I remember the exact second that my uncle gave me that drink. I swallowed the first mouthful and my whole world just changed right there and then. Normal people don't do that. And it's the first time. When's the exact time you took a drink, Johnny? I don't know. When I was a kid, I suppose, maybe, I don't know, 14, 15, I don't. We remember that spot and second when we took it because it changed our world. And it continued to change our world until all of a sudden we crossed over the line where the hypothalamus is telling me to drink and I have the mental obsession. It'll be different this time, blah, blah, blah. Once the mental obsession gets that strong, we take the drink. Once we take the drink, the body gets sick and we're allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. So we have the allergy. People say all the time, oh, I'm craving. You can't crave for anything that's not already in your body. I'm craving for alcohol. No, you're not. You have the mental obsession pertaining to alcohol. Well, I'm allergic to it. No, you're not. You're allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. Let's get it right, guys. Let's look at the real problem because being told you can't drink doesn't work anymore. It never did work. So let's get down to the neuroscience of what addiction's all about. And when you explain that to people in depth, you do not have a choice whether you drink or not in the depths of your addiction. You have no choice. Been taken away from you. Tell us to self-sabotage, and my self-sabotage was alcohol and maybe drugs because it took me away. And guys, for those listening at home, let's take alcohol for instance. When I'm on a journey and trying to stay sober, I'm not done the work. This is what my mental obsession will say to me. Drink, 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 drink all the time. And the only way to get rid of that is to take the first drink of alcohol and it takes all that away and everything's quiet. So unless you sort that trauma out, which is causing these feelings, you will never stay sober and clean.
Oh, um, I really like what you were saying about the family aspect too, and kind of coaching them along. It reminds me of, like Al-Anon in a way, or these relationships. And what would you say to, the significant other or a mother living with a teenage son, or how can they best support their loved one going through addiction?
Dialogue's the first thing we come to. If you think your son or daughter's suffering from addiction, then when they go in the bedroom, oh, it's their private. Get in the bedroom and search for pill bottles or empty cans or empty bottles. Search for it. Okay, some of the signs to look out for: unkempt appearance, not coming down for dinner like the family used to, be late on everything, stuck in his room for hours and hours, days and days. These are the things, because if you don't act now, you will regret it for the rest of your life. If he turns out, or there's alcoholism in the family, it's vital we have to do this, because you're going to be fighting for your son's life one day or your daughter's life one day. That's the reality. And you know something? If you don't attend to this, you're going to fucking die. That's the bottom line. And people go, oh, Dr. Robb, you can't say that. I'm fucking saying it. This is serious, man. This is serious stuff. Well, I only drink beer, and I'm going to show what you're drinking. It's not the quantity, it's not the amount, it's not the time, it's not the day. It's when that stuff gets into my body, I react differently to my guys. When I take drugs, I react differently to other guys. See, when I used to take ecstasy, and 20 of us used to take ecstasy, oh, it was all great that night. The problem being, though, when all my guys went home the next day, I was still using and drinking, and I couldn't stop. So, dialogue's number one. And the other thing as well, when should we start teaching children? If there's addiction in the family, ages 7, 8, 9, start talking about it. Because nobody talked about it in my family. And the only way I traced it back was that grandfather liked to drink and Uncle Jimmy liked to drink. It was pure alcoholism. But nobody mentioned it back in the day. So start that dialogue, get some help of somebody. If you're a mother or father, Google me, get onto our website, get the number and call. My wife and my staff will spend hours with you, directing you. It will never cost you a cent. We're here to help. Let our family help your family. We're never going to sell you anything. Believe it. We're never going to sell you anything. We'll give you advice and we'll direct where you need to be to keep the family safe.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. I think a lot of people um, would take you up on that and appreciate that offer. That's a difficult conversation to have, but I think having it at 8 or 9 is would really change. And, similarly to mental health now being taught a little bit more in schools and addiction, that's something that needs to happen early. Made me just think about the DARE program and how maybe that was I don't want to say like not taught well, but I feel like it was at least from my conversations with friends, it didn't really hit home with us, or it almost made these things feel like exciting in a way of like, what does it even mean to be high? Like, I don't know what that means, but um,
Yeah,
uh,
crazy. It's crazy. When we know what's happening, it's easier to drink. But you know something? Not talking about the guys who keep letting people come in time and time and time again. It's 10th John, little Johnny's 10th trip to the same rehab. I'm not talking about them guys. I'm talking about the real guys that are in it for the real reason is there's no money in recovery. If you can't give you a pill from the pharmaceutical company and you can't stick yourself in treatment for $30,000 a month, nobody wants to know. Okay. So they'll stuff you with Suboxone when you go in there and all this great stuff. Let me tell you guys, and this is controversial, but I don't give a shit. The brain doesn't know the difference between a pharmaceutical drug and a street drug. So if you're on Suboxone instead of heroin and you're on it for 2 or 3 years, sorry guys, you're not clean. It's like me going from whiskey to beer. Get serious about it. If you want to better your life anyway, you get serious about that. Tapers on that stuff, brilliant. I love it. But there has to be an end date. There has to be a taper where you come off and go, by this time, I'm going to be completely off it and live my life to the fullest. Because one thing we hear time and time again off older people is, I thought I had more time. Guys, you don't have time. For the parents listening out there, remember when you took your kid to kindergarten, now he's at college? Where did that time go? That's what we're talking about. We don't have time. Get clean, get sober, get your mindset, do the work on the trauma, get out there and have a life beyond your wildest dreams, because quantum physics tells us we can. We can be anywhere, anytime, as long as we can visualize it. We can be there, walk over and take that position. And this is the other thing as well. I have a short video that I share with my guys, and it's neural pathways connecting in the brain. So every neural pathway for health, for wealth, for success, for love, for father is already built in there. You'll see this thick neural pathway. And what we do is we join the neural pathways. Once they're joined, they can't come undone. As long as you keep doing the repetition, strengthening every single day of your life, you have to have this routine that will keep your mind. It's not about alcohol and drugs. It'll keep your mind away from self-sabotage.
yeah, that's it's interesting too what you mentioned about pharmaceuticals and profitable industries with all this. I mean, you do believe that anybody with these conditions can taper down and just be completely sober for the rest of their life with the proper maintenance.
100%. That's what people are scared of as well. Get back in the box. I can't stop taking this because, yeah, you can. We've proven it 8,000 times. Yeah, you can. You've got to be brave. Fear, stop being fearful. Babies are born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. The rest of the fears that we carry today are man-made. Wait till your father gets home. Oh my God, don't do that. You might get fired. You won't have a job. It's bullshit, is what it is. Be fearless, stand up tall, be a leader in the community, start walking forward. Because if you're going to pack in or stop taking drugs and alcohol, the behavior is the same unless you change it. Then you go back to drinking and using drugs. Do something with your life. I was homeless, guys, for 14 months. Homeless. Okay. Now I'm one of the best addiction doctors in the world. How do you do that? I mean, that's impossible, surely. Nothing is impossible. We had a businessman running the country, guys. Forget your political views for a sec. We had a businessman with no political education or anything running the freaking company. Don't dare tell me you can't do anything that you want to do. Just being lazy, you're stuck in fear and you're scared of success and you're scared of failure. You know, well, what happens if it doesn't work? Hey, listen, what happens if it does? What happens if it does? Because do you want to be like this for the rest of your life and get to 80 years old and go, well, I wish I'd done something with my life? Because you will. Today, when you listen to this podcast, is the day you can change your life. So me and my friend was clearing out my father's house when he passed away. And he found this black and white photograph of me and him when we used to with bodybuilding, we used to with martial arts, you know, we were great. It was about 18, 19. He went, oh my God, Rob, look at this. And I said, wow. And he said, look at our waist. Our waist was so thin. Was so big. Oh my God, we were good looking. God, those were the days, Rob. And I said, yeah, but we didn't realize those were the days back in that. We didn't stand still and go, God, look at us. Look what we're amazing. What if today is one of those days, guys? You can make it one of those days where in 2 years' time you can look back and go, oh my God, I saw that crazy English guy on that amazing podcast. That's when your life changed. Because it can. All life, success, and everything is about neuroplasticity and belief. If you believe in yourself, get rid of the toxic people around you. Oh, I'm not too sure, Jimmy, you can do that. Egos. Surround yourself. You hang around with 9 successful people, you will become the 10th, mirroring part of the brain, whether you like it or not, when you hang around them guys. So most people in the early days have $1 million mind, but what we tend to do is hang around 10-cent minds. You need to get away from them 10-cent minds, man. You want to earn 100 grand a year? It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy once you stand up and make your mind up to do it. So the mind sits inside the brain, 2 entities completely. What happens is you make your mind up, energy, power to do something, and it releases into the brain. And all the things we've talked about, the insula, the amygdala, the ventral medial prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus, will all take that role of success on. That's what it's about. Start believing. And if you're sat at home, guys, and you're thinking that you'll never amount to anything and you'll never do anything with your life, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there. We're not meant to think that way. If you believe in God, higher power, Uncle Jimmy up there, we were meant to be wealthy, safe, healthy, you know, with our bodies. But 4 chemicals every day. Endorphins, get out there and walk for 20 minutes, go to the gym for 20 minutes, jump up and down, take the dog for a walk, 20 minutes, endorphins are released. Dopamine is our reward system. Compliment 3 people, you know, be nice to people. You've got a serotonin, sunlight, social belonging, and the oxytocin, which is our intimacy, not sex, with somebody else. So when we look at them 4 chemicals that need to be happy, you can't be sad with them 4 chemicals, but you have to remember that dopamine, the rest are invented in the brain. Chemicals come, dopamine, it comes from the gut. So if you're not eating right, drink plenty of water, you know, taking stuff for health, you're never going to get the dopamine to the highest effect. You're just going to use it from when you get a present or a gift or you do something and dopamine's flying, you know. It comes from the gut. Look after your gut, you know. Get them 4 chemicals that go in. And listen, guys, if you're not successful, all right, you let me know. I'll send you $1,000 because it's impossible not to do that. You have no choice in it. No choice at all.
Yeah, you hit on something there that means a lot to me, and that's, feeding myself well. It's been a massive part of my recovery and feeling good. And, I exercise heavily, like every day, and I play hockey twice a week. But my mother is a functional medicine health coach, so in the early parts of my recovery, eating the proper foods and, getting healthy fats and vegetables into my diet. I do smoothies every day. It's like one of the things that I really believe in is the gut-brain connection. Um,
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And I can't afford to eat well. Just go in the supermarket, go into Walmart, stick to the walls. Get our fresh fruit and everything. Stay away from that processed shit. Everything we eat is sprayed in cornstarch, corn syrup. Corn syrup kills us. We're not meant to eat that shit. In actual fact, when you look at corn syrup and what it actually is, I think it was Rockefeller that first invented the oil to use on industrial machines. And now it's become a daily part of our everything we eat that's processed is sprayed in this stuff. You need to get away from that. It's killing you. And the most important thing in the morning when you get up, say, I love you 10 times in the mirror, looking at yourself, replacing in the subconscious brain. So when an idea comes, it's not going to be toxic. So when something comes, the toxic flips over to the prefrontal cortex, and that becomes our decision. When we're replacing that with good stuff and doing our trauma, when a position comes, buying that car, house, girl, whatever it is, job, we can make a good decision based on the stuff that we love ourselves. And the second thing I'll say is oxygen. Everybody thinks they breathe well. You don't. We only breathe 25% of our lung capacity unless we go running or get to the gym. Why do we feel so good after the gym? Oxygen. But get the oxygen in. So breathe in 10 times every morning, man. You'll feel good because this is what happens. Most diseases, cancers, everything else in the body, tumors, everything is born and created in a hypoxic area of the body. When oxygen is present, any illnesses or cancers cannot grow any further than they already are. It's gonna, oh my God, yeah, oh my God, yeah. Cool. You've got to start doing this, man. It feeds the part of the brain that not doesn't usually get oxygen. You know, do that every single day. Do the mirror work every single day. Be kind, compliment people, and concentrate on the good things in life. Stop going back to that box and getting in it because you'll die a very sad man well before your time.
yeah, I actually had a conversation this weekend with one of my friends who, mentioned like a ruminating negative thought, and my response was kind of like, I have those too, man. Like they come and they go, but you just gotta try to keep having more positive thoughts than negative thoughts. What recommendations or advice do you have to just kind of stop those negative
You
self?
can, you can rewire your own brain, not only a little tiny bit. The rest is done like people like me. But a self-sabotaging neural pathway lasts for only 7.3 seconds, is what we've got our timing. So if you get a negative thought, something about yourself, going back to when your dad or mom said you were stupid, somebody calls you stupid at work, that hits real hard because the two connect. Get a rubber band. Always wear a rubber band. And when them thoughts come, snap. Once you snap it, it jerks the central nervous system, jerks the neural pathways. Now they don't know which way to go. It's 7 seconds, guys. That's all it is. That's all it'll last if you do that. And it's gone for that day, month, year. It's gone. And keep doing that, snapping it, pulling yourself back to reality where God, universe, Uncle Jimmy wants you to be, and stop following the herd and just thinking this is the way life is. This is not the way life is. You know, if you want to become a millionaire, go be a millionaire. What's wrong with you? There's nothing different from the CEO earning $5 million a day and you. It's just he believed he can do it. Don't even talk to me about college. The ROI on a college degree used to be good 10 years ago. Look at little Jimmy. He's been to Cambridge University. He's got a good job for the rest of his life. It's not like that anymore. You can earn $1 million in front of your computer every single day. We have so many opportunities. Think outside the box. If you haven't gone to college, who cares? You didn't finish high school, who cares? Nobody gives a shit anymore. Because listen, you want to know something like the other guy from college has spent 6 years doing? Google it. Google it. You both have the same answers in 2 minutes. Only he spent 100 grand on his education. You've got Google. You know, stop being fooled by this, this life that we're following. This, you have to do this to be that. No, you don't. Who's making these rules up, guys? Make your own rules up. When me and my wife got married 8 years ago, we had a little argument after a couple of days, and I said, I don't like this. I don't like the argument. And she said, that's the way marriage is. And I said, says who? Who's making these? I don't like these rules. We have a marriage today that's phenomenal. I'm surprised she hasn't thrown something already at me. And we laugh and we joke and we dance in the bathroom. We're 61 and 59 and we're having a ball of our life and we're not getting old and we're thinking younger because the placebo effect on the mind will make you go down that way. If I think I'm old, I'm getting old, dress old, buy a sensible car, then I'm getting old. I'm not going to do that, you know? I'm not going to do it. There was a knee surgeon in Germany and he took 10 people on free of charge to do knee surgery. Unbelievable. But he told them that 2 of them will not have the operation. It was the placebo effect he was looking at. So they all went for the surgery. And when they all come round, every single one of them, including the 2 placebos, their knees were cut open as if they'd done the surgery. But all he did is he made the cuts and he's sewn them up. So 8 had the surgery and 2 didn't. The 2 that didn't have the surgery walked fantastic and never had the pain for the rest of their lives. 3
Wow.
people or 4 people from the ones that did had severe pain, just like it was, never healed. And 2 or 3 of them was great. But it shows you what you believe, what you put in the mind, what people are telling you is what we believe. So what we see is how we feel. And the things we hear is how we act. So if you're telling yourself every day you're going to be a success, going to be amazing, you're going to do something, you will do it. It's as simple as that. Put it out to the universe, put it out to God, Uncle Jimmy, whatever it is. I want to be a person. I want to be able to buy that car, that house, that engagement ring, whatever it is, and follow direction, eat well, stay sober and clean by doing all the work, get into a program, detox, and start your life today, not tomorrow. That's for the losers. Tomorrow's. Tomorrow will never come. And yesterday, forget about that. What can you do about yesterday? I've got resentment. I'm pissed off yet. Why are you pissed off about yesterday? It's gone. It's finished. And at the end of the day, I got to tell you guys, I've really got to tell you this, and it might upset some people, is no one gives a shit about you. If you dress wrongly, you got 2 matching shoes, you got holes in the socks, you do your hair for an hour, nobody cares. They all got their own problems going on. So I usually wear, when I go out, pink shorts, blue shirt, my hair's all over the place. I drive a crazy car. I don't give a shit. It's the way to live life because nobody cares what you're going through. So why wouldn't you live life? Take a chance. Take a chance. There's Jim Carrey does a talk at a graduation, guys. You've got to Google it. He talks about his father who was a comedian. Could have had a great career and he was offered the career of touring round and maybe some TV or something. But he was also an accountant. So he turned down that chance of fame and fortune to stay at his safe job. 6 months into that, after that, his safe job let him go. And they had to do whatever it took to eat and pay the rent. The moral of the story is you might as well do something you want to do than something you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I was just about to ask, like, what would you say to somebody who's either in a job and wants those things to be a millionaire, to be have all this success, but might not see exactly how they're gonna get there? And I think I know what you're gonna say, or at least what my interpretation while you were talking. You're just, change your attitude and be open to this little magic in life that happens and when these opportunities come. Um, but how would you kind of position yourself if you're in a job or going down a path and you're like, I can't be a millionaire by next month, next year, or
Yeah. You can
what's
manage it. It's not really hard. The first thing you have to remember is this. Is you never get rich by working for somebody else. That's the first. If you're going to bed on a Sunday night with all that dread feeling of work next morning, you need another job. If you and your wife are arguing every single day and you hate it, you need a new wife. It really is that simple. But what I always say to my guys is, you want to start your own business? Oh yeah. What's your passion? I like painting. Let's start a business painting. So let me build you a website. Let me get you an email. We'll build a website for you and we'll start putting it out and start doing it part-time. Start selling paintings, start doing, work, whatever, masonry, whatever it is you're good at and want to do in life. Let's start small and start building it up. In a year to 2 years' time, you can let that job go that you hate and now you're making a full-time living. Where you're doing your passion, when you find out why you've really been put on this earth, then life takes on. It's a whole new meaning, man. All my guys, I wanted to create something that feeling Sunday night, oh God, and you see it all over Facebook, oh, it's, hump day, it's hump day, and thank God it's Friday. What? Why are you living like that? Jesus, start your own deal and make it reality because you have the passion Once you start, you're really passionate about it, it'll take off. Because there's nothing like, we sell ourselves every day, obviously. But when you're selling your dream to somebody, they'll buy that a lot quicker than a hard sell. You know, look at your passion, do your passion, and have a balance in life. And then move forward. Believe you're the best person. Let's say you're a house painter. Truly believe in yourself when you've done your trauma work and all the stuff and you got clean and sober. Start saying to yourself, you're the best house painter in the world. Wow. How can you prove that? Prove me wrong. Well, I can't. I mean, there's so many. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm the best one in the world, right? When you start telling yourself the best one in the world, you start to believe that you're the best in the world. You'll walk different, talk different, act different, and work different. When you do that, other people will start treating you. So let me tell you something really interesting, guys, that goes along that. There was a scientific research lab back in England in the early 80s, and they went to this school and they said, "Hey, headmaster, we have this test we've been working on for ages. We'll give it to your kids. It's like 40 questions, little test exam. And then when we get all the answers in, we'll tell you the top three kids, ages between 8 and 12, who's going to be captains of industry, very wealthy and successful." And the headmaster said, "You can't do that. I mean, we have to train the brains." He said, "No, I'm telling you, that's what we'll do." So they did all the papers. And he said, "Okay." And next day he came and said, "We have three children. That's going to do amazing." He said, "Okay, tell us." I said, "Jimmy." "Jimmy? Are you sure?" "Yep, Sally." "Oh, I don't know about Sally." "And Peter, are you sure?" "No, I think you've got this wrong. We'll be back in a year." So they came back in a year's time and they said, "How's our three guys going?" And the headmaster said, "This is true testing, by the way. This is unbelievable. Like the guy who was 12 is now 30. He's got an offer for college already. And the other two are going to be, they're doing amazing at school. They're just going to be absolutely superstars. But you have to tell us how you knew, because we need to start doing this in our schools." And the answer surprised them. They said, "When we came in, the testing and the exam papers we threw away as soon as we got back to the office. And what we did a year later is we picked three random people out of your school." That's your reaction, Jimmy. That's your reaction. Remember? Oh, I remember that. "But how did you do it?" And he said this: "Because we told you that they were going to be the best in the world. So you treated them as if they're the best in the world. So they believed they're going to be the best in the world." Boom. That's neuroscience for you. It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, it's like the teachers and everything kind of morphed in and around them to give them the opportunity, and like kind of like you said, the universe opens up when you have your passion. And I also like what you said about just starting small. If it's as you like health and wellness and making smoothies, just sell something
Yeah.
small. Not sell
Yeah.
your recipes for 9 cents. Build out the infrastructure, and over time, it'll
I
come
mean,
to
what
you.
have you got to lose? Let's say you met milkshakes for bodybuilders or something. You do three a week to your friends. You've got an extra $30 a week coming up. That's 120 a month. Probably even pays a car payment or something. What you got to lose? That turns into 50. That turns into 100, 1,000. Now you've got your own freaking store. I never thought it'd be like, yeah, now you've got your own store. Now you start selling nationwide. Then when that starts to come in, because you're the best in the world, don't remember that. You're the best in the world of doing this. When it goes international, you start to believe you're best in the world and people will be attracted to you. It's all about confidence and self-belief. I used to walk into a room with my head down and I used to say to myself, "I wonder if anybody likes me in here." Today, I kick that door down. I walk in and go, "Who the fuck do I like today?" That's the difference. You have to start believing and acting. You want to be a millionaire? Start acting like a millionaire. Start walking, talking, acting, dressing, everything. There's a true saying, clothes maketh the man. If you want to be seen, and feel good on interviews or something, dress for the always dress for the occasion. Speak accordingly, dress accordingly, and act accordingly. And you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like this this whole podcast has got people jumping out of their seats already, ready to run through a wall. Uh, I want to ask one more question, kind of about just I know you came over from the UK and might have different perspectives on uh, the the world health systems as well. So I'd like to ask, like, if there's I know you're doing your own private practice and you have your method, but if there's anything, if you were, king of the world for a day, could change one or two things about healthcare or the systems, what would be the top things that come to mind as far as helping the world?
Well, we'll start with raw foods. We'll start with, educate people about what they're eating. Most of this, well, a lot of stuff that we have here are banned in different countries. So look at what you're eating. Let's have a huge national debate on that and find out what you can't, because the food companies that go down to 5 companies. I'm not going to ever give that up. And the second for mental health is let's start psych hospitals again instead of throwing them in jail or hospitals or homeless. I became an American citizen about 3 years ago. And I took that shit real serious. I dressed up for the occasion, wore an American bow tie. I was proud of my country now. This is my country. And the way we treat our veterans is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Yet we're sending millions away for, this research in Ukraine. It's all well and good, but why can't we look after ourselves first? These guys on the street, man, who fought for us, who kept us safe. The guy's living on the street now. Nobody wants to touch him because he can't afford healthcare to get the proper trauma and PTSD treatment that he deserves, because he put his life on the line for us. And what do? Oh, Jimmy's just homeless. Yeah, he's going to die soon. It's like, guys, we've got it all wrong, guys. We really are. We need to start treating our vets. We need to start treating our mental illness people differently and understanding that this happens to a lot of people. Everybody knows somebody who suffers from addiction, alcoholism, or mental illness. Everybody knows somebody. And if you don't, it's probably you. That's how rife it is around the world right now. We need to take a whole look at the mental health industry as a whole and stop shoving it under the carpet and sending billions of dollars to other countries. Now, that's controversial, guys. Again, I'm the guy that says things that other people are thinking. I don't care. It's just like, I'm proud to be an American. And I won't stop till the day I die of trying to correct the situation we're in now with mental health and addiction. I do it every day. I'm passionate about this stuff. I don't care what you're going to do. I was on a national interview a couple of years ago with the attorney from Purdue, the pharmaceutical company, and it was live TV, so they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't cut me off. It's live TV going across the nation.
Yeah.
So I told him exactly what was what, and the very next day, Purdue, who's a multi-billion-dollar company, filed for bankruptcy. Google that. You'll see me on there. I don't care.
This is
We
with
have to start changing.
the whole opioid and OxyContin.
It's gotten out of control. You know, I'll I'll say this. Um, when my mom and auntie and all them people before me had severe pain, cancer pain, anything like that, they gave them morphine. What's wrong with morphine? Oh, do we have different pain today? Has the pain got harsher over the last 20 years, 30 years? No, it hasn't. It's the same pain that they suffered. So why do we need all the super crazy? Oh, it's 100 times more powerful. Why do we need that? One reason only, and that's money. That's the only reason is to make money. And they're so easy to replicate in these farms and industries out there. The oil industry used to be the biggest money maker in the world. Now it's drugs. You can
Yeah.
make that shit real easy. Stick 1,000 out a day, you become a very wealthy person.
Yeah, it's all driven by profit. It's sad to see. Um, well, the reason I asked the question kind of on the overall global health is I recently went back to school to get my master's of public health and mental health policy. So I still have a year left of my degree, but I'm in the early stages of, the reason I went back was due to my experience, but I'm also now working in Vanderbilt at their psychiatric hospital. So I'm really
All
trying
right.
to
Oh,
sponge
yeah.
everything in about, fresh air, eating food, exercise. Like these things were so vital to me in my recovery, but they weren't available for me when I was in the mental health, and they weren't prioritized or even talked about in my recovery, the food. So I'm, honored and really pleased to have you as an ally and a friend during this journey. And as I, work towards figuring out, I say this all the time, like I don't know what job title technically it's going to be in a year when I graduate, but I just know I can see myself like standing on the White House lawn, like passing a bill that's going to do away with like this ability where you only get 10 minutes of fresh air outside a day or
Yeah.
mental health patients can't get
Yeah.
outside because they don't have the resources. Like
Yeah.
I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like we gotta start prioritizing this stuff. So,
Don't even get me started with nurses and techs and mental health staff, because that'll be a whole new conversation. We need to start looking at their pay grade, so more people get into that side and that side of the industry and be proud and be able to live on that wage and be able to have a nice house and a decent car and stuff like that, rather than living paycheck to paycheck. But that's another time.
yeah, yeah, we'll save that for round two. Dr. Rob, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you or follow along and reach out
But
for help?
yeah, if you're just listening again, not watching, spell my name with two B's, ROBBKELOY is the .com is the website. Jump on there, have some fun. Any search engine, Dr. Robb Kelly, same as well, two B's, and you'll find us. And yeah, the other thing I want to say, guys, is if you're that guy where I used to be, you sat at home in that apartment and you don't think you amount to anything and you can't stop drinking and stuff like that. First of all, I want to apologize to you, like I said. But secondly, 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. You text me, okay? And when you text me, I'm going to promise you a 10-minute pep talk that will change your life. And you know, if it doesn't, I'll send you $100 for your time. I would rather spend 10 minutes free of charge giving you a pep talk than hear of your funeral in a couple of weeks' time. So thanks, guys. Thank you so much indeed. Great to be here, man. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Dr. Rob. All right, yeah, I appreciate you. That was amazing.